White-collar crime has become a global phenomenon. With the advancement of commerce and technology, like any other country, India is equally in the grip of white-collar criminality. White-collar crime in India is flourishing every day in new forms. The problem of white-collar crime is very serious in India. Hoarding, profiteering, and black marketing of essential commodities by traders has become a chronic problem for the government. It is believed that the white-collar crimes are much easier to rationalize. Committing such a crime doesn't require a gun or a knife. You may not see an apparent victim. It can be easily covered up. There has been an increase in the number of white-collar crimes in India over the last 2 decades. The earlier crimes can be traced back from the time of Harshad Mehta scam to the current Reebok incident. White-collar crime, definition and study. The criminologist and sociologist Edwin H. Sutherland in the year 1939 popularized the term white-collar crimes by defining such a crime as one committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of his occupation. Sutherland also included crimes committed by corporations and other legal entities within his definition. Sutherland's study of white-collar crime was prompted by the view that criminology had incorrectly focused on social and economic determinants of crime, such as family background and level of wealth. It is true to the common knowledge that there are certain professions which offer lucrative opportunities for criminal acts and unethical practices, which is very often overlooked by the general mass of the society. There have been crooks and unethical persons in business, various other professions, who tend to become unscrupulous because of no reason apart from the thirst of gaining more and more for themselves. These deviants have least regard for ethical and moral human values. Therefore, they carry on their illegal activities without the fear of loss of respect and prestige. Emergence of white-collar crime. White-collar crime was initially reported in 15th century in England. There has been a case popularly known as the Carrier's Case of 1473, where an agent was entrusted to transport wool and he attempted to steal some of it. However, the growth of industrial capitalism in the 18th century ushered a new history of crime and criminality. The very base of industrial capitalism is based on coercion and robbery. Now, before we discuss the topic, let us understand the meaning of capitalism. White-collar crimes in India. The street crime, especially snatching and motor vehicle theft, has relatively come down compared to 2010. The year 2011 completely belonged to the faceless white-collar criminals. As per reports, the numbers of such criminals arrested by the crime branch this year saw a massive increase. That is, 108% as 148 people were arrested for dabbling in white-collar crime as compared to just 71 in 2010. In all, around 20 organized white-collar rackets were busted last year and cash and valuables amounting to Rs 4.5 crore. Thousands of mobile phones used in the commission of criminal activity and 3 dozen vehicles were recovered. The list includes perpetrators of lottery fraud, fake recruitment racketeers, ATM fraudsters, travel agents, property dealers, agents promising fake court affidavits and death certificates, as well as both men and women operating fake friendship clubs. The Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi Police arrested more than 163 criminals in 1,358 cases, ranging from those of land grabbing to fake job rackets, and attached property valued at amounts estimated to be between Rs 350 to Rs 500 crore. White-collar crimes are to be considered as a global phenomenon to which India is no exception. White-collar crimes emerged in India with the advent of the British colonization during the period of industrial capitalism. Prior to that, instances of men working with the district treasury, embezzling with the money kept under his safe custody, or bribing practiced among the officials were found. Therefore, the white-collar crimes were confined to this limit. Thus, the people indulging in the white-collar crimes then came to said to be mere grass-eaters. The people in the modern times have reached the stage of meat-eaters. 6 features of white-collar crime in India. The white-collar or occupational economic crimes, criminals in our country have some important features. The crimes result in social injuries far greater than conventional crimes where only individuals are affected. However, these crimes or criminals have generally been regarded by criminologists as a class apart because the administrative, investigative, and judicial procedures for many of them have been different from the procedures for other violations of criminal laws. A large number of these offenders are recidivists, though repetition is not necessarily of the same type of crime. The illegal activities or white-collar crimes follow more or less the same modus operandi. A white-collar criminal does not lose his status among associates because it is not considered a violation of the business code. In fact, many successful criminals of this category are hailed as dynamic and innovative leaders of industry or society. White-collar criminals feel and express contempt for law, for government, and for government officials. In this respect, they are similar to many professional criminals. While ordinary criminals are afraid of enforcement agencies, white-collar criminals are rarely so, because they think that on being detected, they may only be transferred or fined or given a short-term simple imprisonment. Types of white-collar crime. White-collar crime is not a victimless crime. A single scam can destroy a company, devastate families by wiping out their life savings, or cost investors billions of dollars, or even all three. Today's fraud schemes are more sophisticated than ever. Few of these white-collar crimes are discussed below. Bank fraud. To engage in an act or pattern of activity where the purpose is to defraud a bank of funds. Blackmail. A demand for money or other consideration under threat to do bodily harm, to injure property, to accuse of a crime, or to expose secrets. Bribery. When money, goods, services, information, or anything else of value is offered with intent to influence the actions, opinions, or decisions of the taker. One may be charged with bribery whether one offers the bribe or accepts it. Cellular phone fraud. The unauthorized use, tampering, or manipulation of a cellular phone or service. This can be accomplished by either use of a stolen phone or where an actor signs up for service under false identification, or where the actor clones a valid electronic serial number by using an ESN reader and reprograms another cellular phone with a valid ESN number. Computer fraud, where computer hackers steal information sources contained on computers such as bank information, credit cards, and proprietary information. Counterfeiting occurs when someone copies or imitates an item without having been authorized to do so and passes the copy off for the genuine or original item. Counterfeiting is most often associated with money, however, can also be associated with designer clothing, handbags, and watches. Credit card fraud, the unauthorized use of a credit card to obtain goods of value. Currency schemes, the practice of speculating on the future value of currencies. Embezzlement, when a person who has been entrusted with money or property appropriates it for his or her own use and benefit. Extortion occurs when one person illegally obtains property from another by actual or threatened force, fear, or violence, or under cover of official right. Forgery, when a person passes a false or worthless instrument such as a check or counterfeit security with the intent to defraud or injure the recipient. Healthcare fraud, where an unlicensed healthcare provider provides services under the guise of being licensed and obtains monetary benefits for the service. Insider trading, when a person uses inside, confidential, or advance information to trade in shares of publicly held corporations. Insurance fraud, to engage in an act or pattern of activity wherein one obtains proceeds from an insurance company through deception. Investment schemes, where an unsuspecting victim is contacted by the actor who promises to provide a large return on a small investment. Money laundering, the investment or transfer of money from racketeering, drug transactions, or other embezzlement schemes so that it appears that its original source either cannot be traced or is legitimate. Racketeering, the operation of an illegal business for personal profit. Securities fraud, the act of artificially inflating the price of stocks by brokers so that buyers can purchase a stock on the rise. Tax evasion, when a person commits fraud in filing or paying taxes. Telemarketing fraud, actors operate out of boiler rooms and place telephone calls to residences and corporations where the actor requests a donation to an alleged charitable organization, or where the actor requests money up front or a credit card number up front and does not use the donation for the stated purpose. White-collar crimes are widespread in society. White-collar crime and its consequences are recognized from centuries which categorize number of crimes. Mostly business and government professionals are involved in series of frauds termed as white-collar crime because these are lucrative, comparatively risk-free, and nearly socially up to standard. Due to high occurrence of these crimes, security officials plan modern technique to fight back through prevention, investigation, and prosecution. When the term white-collar crime is conversed, people are encouraged to think decisively about the nature of crime, law, and criminal justice. In the criminal justice system, the focal point of the investigative efforts on the crimes of the poor. If it is viewed from same legal eye of the state, the crimes of the powerful are hidden. Individuals and organizations commit these acts to obtain money, property, or services, to avoid the payment or loss of money or services, or to secure personal or business advantage. Generally, the white-collar criminals commit a range of frauds to get personal financial gain. White-collar crimes do not show any vicious activity, but the extent of these crimes are intense and it can bring about great economic loss for companies, investors. Computer fraud is characterized as the crime committed to perform a plan or illegal activity and the targeting of a computer with the intention to modify, damage, or put out of action the data of computer system. There are many examples of crimes which include offering missing goods to a buyer, stealing someone's funds by hacking into his bank or credit card account. Hackers find passwords and delete information, create programs to steal passwords, or even rummage through company garbage to find secret information. Embezzlement, as mentioned above, is the misuse of items with which a person has been assigned. Charges of embezzlement can even be levied if the embezzler intended to return the property later. Employee theft is most common example of embezzlement. Company employees can have access to company property so they can easily misuse the property. Numerous examples can be quoted, such as theft of retail items, discounted sale of retail items, and theft from cash registers. Healthcare frauds are a stereotypical white-collar crime in which highly qualified medical practitioners and health supervisors abuse their posts and professional skills through misleading, non-violent tactics such as fake bills just for individual financial gain. Environmental crimes are the infringement of laws which are made to protect the environment and human health. Littering, improper waste disposal, oil spills, destruction of wetlands are some of the environmental crimes. Perpetrator of environmental law violation is fined, but on experimentation sent to jail. Financial crimes are major white-collar crimes. These are any non-violent felony that is committed by or against an individual or corporation and lead to great fiscal loss. These frauds include tax evasion, cheating of company funds, and the sale of fictitious insurance plans. Another category of serious white-collar crime is government fraud, which is an unlawful act that deliberately rid the government of funds through trickery. When the government gets fiddled, taxpayers pay the price. Procurement and contractor fraud are examples of costliest government fraud. In identity theft, the criminal use the personal information of another in order to commit fraud. Crooks of this type of crime have to face heavy penalties if trapped. Insurance fraud is very common, in which offender forged claims to an insurance company, personal injury and property damage claims that are overstated in order to collect extra reimbursements. Mail fraud is committed by using postal service or any private or commercial interstate mail carrier such as mailboxes, etc. Money laundering is a felony in which lawbreakers hide the resource and objective of illegitimately acquired funds. Public corruption is an act of violating the public official's duty of faith towards his or her society. Anyone who is elected, appointed, hired, or employee of a consistency of citizens commits crime on the state or local level when an official takes favorable decision in exchange of offered some value. Securities fraud is committed by white-collar criminals such as corporations, broker-dealers, analysts, and private investors when the executor intentionally deceives investors for financial profits. The culprit of tax evasion deliberately and illegally avoids paying mandatory taxes to the government. Telemarketing fraud fall under white-collar criminal in which wrongdoer makes some plan that uses telephone contact to fraudulently rid its victims of funds or assets. The most regular type of telemarketing frauds are price offers and sweepstakes, magazine sales, credit card sales. In today's high-tech world, white-collar crimes are creating a serious trouble for government. People who commit white-collar crimes are sometimes the same kind of people who are in a position to see to it that their crimes are not defined too detrimental. While the impact of white-collar criminals leave an immense impact on the nation, but the cost to each individual is petite. Practically, it is observed that no effort from police department goes into skirmishing white-collar crime. Our social system is corrupted by a number of white-collar crime, and it is a great challenge to discover suitable resolution to the increasing menace of white-collar crime. These crimes are directly affecting the economy of the nation and the public's confidence. Therefore, corrective action must be taken immediately for preventing, detecting, investigating, and prosecuting economic crimes in order to minimize their outcome. Main blockade to get to the bottom of the white-collar crime hazard is that the public is not aware of its seriousness. It is more important to create wakefulness and businesses, and the nation's lawmakers must be convinced with its significance in identifying that such high-tech and economic crimes have an undesirable effect on society. Mostly people are innocent and they are not aware of the degree to which their lives, financial status, businesses, families, or privacy might be affected by electronic crime. A rock-hard inspection or accounting background is obliging to detect white-collar crime because swindlers are very clever and they can manipulate the situation very well. Reasons for growth of white-collar crimes in India. White-collar crimes are committed out of greed. The people who usually commit these crimes are financially secure. White-collar crimes are estimated to cost society many times more than crimes such as robbery and burglary The amount of death caused by corporate mishap, such as inadequate pharmaceutical testing, far outnumbers those caused by murder. The emergence of cutting-edge technology, growing businesses and political pressures has opened up new avenues for these criminal organizations to prosper. This increase is due to a booming economy and technological advancement such as the internet and fast money transfer systems. Law enforcement is sometimes reluctant to pursue these cases because they are so hard to track and investigate. It is very difficult to detect as white-collar crimes always committed in privacy of an office or home, and usually there is no eyewitness. But naturally a question arises that if we have specific legislations to trace out white-collar criminality, then why these offenders go unpunished? Main reasons for which these white-collar criminals or occupational criminals go unpunished are: legislators and the law implementers belong to the same group or class to which these occupational criminals belong. Less police effort, favorable laws, less impact on individuals. The judiciary is equally guilty of delaying justice. With white-collar crimes on the rise, it is necessary for the judiciary and police to distinguish between white-collar crimes, petty crimes, and acts of homicide and violence. Sending everyone to the same jail is also unfair. Different detention centers are required for different kinds of criminal misconduct. At this present juncture, what we need is the strengthening of our enforcement agencies such as Central Bureau of Investigation, the Enforcement Directorate, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, the Income Tax Department, and the Customs Department. Concentration and distribution of national wealth must be done in a proper manner. Speedy trial should be arranged by appointing more judges. Central Vigilance Commission must keep a constant vigil on the workings of the top-ranking officers. General public must not avoid being engaged themselves in the prosecution of the white-collar criminals, as the offense in general is directed towards them. Lastly, if they are traced and proved guilty, then deterrent theory of punishment is an option 1. Misconceptions about white-collared crime. White-collared crime, usually described as an illegal act committed for financial gain, has few myths associated with it. White-collared crimes are non-violent. Since white-collared crime is usually characterized as non-violent, many are prone to this myth. But criminals in general have a sense of entitlement and need for control. White-collar criminals are highly paid. We always associate all big names and people with it, but white-collar criminals also depend on poorly paid underlings. White-collar criminals are otherwise upstanding citizens. About 40% of white-collar criminals have a record. It's all about cash. Yes, there are poorly paid white-collar criminals, but the mastermind of the crime could be very rich. Researchers say peer pressure, company culture, and pure hubris cause people to commit white-collar crimes. Conclusion: the incidence of white-collar crime is fairly high among all the professionals like medical, law, advertisements, real estate, consulting, and other engineers and contractors undertaking construction and other kinds of work. With the increasing use of newly developed technologies in the various spheres of business, commerce, and industry, particularly the computers, the scope of white-collar crime is getting wider. New crimes are emerging, and the commission of certain kinds of pre-existing crimes is being greatly facilitated. There is an urgent need to reduce fraud and corruption in government and private sector. As previously mentioned, corruption and fraud stop multinationals from investing in the country. The decrease in foreign direct investment in 2011 and the international financial institutions' outflow of funds from stock markets are clear indicators of the negative impact of fraud and corruption. Therefore, Indian government must improve governance and take strict action against the offenders. The private sector must implement fraud prevention measures and focus on ethics to reduce frauds. Both sectors have to collaborate to minimize fraud risks in India. Therefore, the motto should always be prevention is better than cure. Since the acts involved defrauding public faith and belief, public as a whole mass should come forward to protect the whole society from these greedy people who are destroying the ethics and morality of the society slowly and slowly for their sole aim of pursuing narrows.